Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to your State House News Report right here on the Riley King Network. We have two stories from the State House in Concord, New Hampshire. So let's begin with story number one. Bill would allow third gender option on New Hampshire driver's licenses. Supporters said change would allow more accurate IDs. Legislation being considered in Concord would add a third gender identity to New Hampshire driver's licenses for people who don't identify as male or female. The bill would allow people to choose X instead of male or female for licenses. The transgender and non binary community said it would provide validation and more accurate IDs. Right now, my New Hampshire state ID shows an F in the sex box, said Alex McEntee of Concord. I jokingly tell people the F stands for fraudulent. The change would make a big difference to many people, said Skylar Payne of New Hampton. I have survived two suicide attempts myself, and the social dysphasia I face is a force that led me to attempting suicide. Social dysphasia that I also feel when asked and having to clarify about my gender being listed as male on my state ID, Payne said. Transgender non discrimination legislation passed last year, and legislation is moving forward this session to allow changes to legal documents such as birth certificates and licenses to more accurately reflect who their holders are. This would give me the opportunity going to the grocery store, going to the bank, and having to set up a new account, or even voting for someone to see that X on there. I have the opportunity to tell them what that means, said MK of Dover. I have the opportunity to help them understand this new age that we are in. There is some opponents to the bill, and it would cost about $25,000 to update the computer system of the Division of Motor Vehicles, but supporters said it's a necessary change that's already being made across the country. Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Minnesota, New York, Oregon, Utah, and Washington and the Native American communities all recognize a third gender, said Rep. Gearing Cannon, Democrat of Somersworth. And now let's talk about story number two. Death penalty repeal bill passes New Hampshire House with vote proof majority. Bill would not apply to states only death row inmate. The New Hampshire House voted Thursday to repeal the state's death penalty law with a margin that could survive a veto from the governor. The state hasn't executed anyone since 1939, and bills to repeal the death penalty have come up every session over the past 20 years. But there have never been as many votes to repeal as there are now. The vote was 279 to 88 to repeal the death penalty. Governor Chris Sununu vetoed a similar bill last year, but the current version passed with more than 2/3 majority. It also appears that the Senate could have enough votes to override a veto. Repealing the death penalty would not spare Michael Addison, who was convicted of killing Manchester police officer Michael Briggs in 2006. Addison is the state's only death row inmate. Rep. Rennie Cushing, Democrat of Hampton, said he has always opposed capital punishment even after his father was murdered. Sununu has said he would veto the bill if it comes to his desk. And that does it for my State House News Report right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with more news reports. Good night, everyone. Bye.